Hey guys, welcome back. We just got a brand new toy here today. I just ordered this for a build that's coming up here in the next day or two. And figured before all the rest of the parts get here, I of course got to have a chance to play with it. So I'm going to get this installed in the X470 Tai Chi. And we'll put it underwater and we'll see what it can do. The stock settings for this APU are CPU at 3.5 gigahertz and a graphics core at 1100. XMP for this RAM enabled is 3200 C14. Of course, we're overclocking it, so we tested it with the CPU at 4.1 gigahertz, graphics core at 1670, and we bumped the RAM up to 3333 C14. These settings were completely stable, and I decided to just stop there since this chip is going into another build, and I really didn't want to push it too far. And here you see Wreckfest running on the APU, medium settings with high details and grass. All gameplay with the APU was captured using MSI Afterburner, and there was a loss of about 5 to 10 FPS, and all capture done, when I put the RX 580 in, was done with Radeon Relive. This testing is actually being done on my capture PC. I didn't have time to set up another one just for dedicated capture. So as you can see, you can absolutely play Wreckfest with a 3000G, and lowering some settings will get you even better frame rate. And here's Wreckfest with the RX 580 added for a GPU. And I can't tell you why the sound records so choppy here. Trying to get these captures is a complete pain in the ass this time. One game that was quite surprising, despite not being a very hard game to run, was World War Z. At 1080p with low settings, it actually played quite well even while recording. You'll notice this is in DX11, so there's something do need to point out though. I was having a serious driver issue where I could not load any DX12 or Vulkan titles or any game under DX12 or Vulkan. The monitor would just cut out and I couldn't get anything back until I hit the reset button on the PC.
You're rat food now.
And here you can see we're running Tomb Raider from 2013, 1080p medium settings with screen effects and motion blur off. And even while recording, it's doing quite well. And with the RX 580 installed, the settings are set to ultra, motion blur still off, and frame rate's pretty good. With this combination, the CPU will be a bottleneck in most circumstances, but remember, this is only a dual-core CPU. Rise of the Tomb Raider. I was really surprised by how well this ran. This is 1080p low settings, and yeah, the frame times don't look great, but without the screen capture running, it smooths out a little bit, and it's actually quite playable. It doesn't look fantastic at low settings, but I mean, you make sacrifices when you're on a budget, I suppose. I wish I could have gotten the APU to work with DX12. I mean, I'd like to see the difference on this title with DX12 versus DX11. I think it would have made it quite a bit more playable, even. And when we add the RX 580, you can see we're really hammering the CPU, but running with DX12 on high settings, the frame rate and the frame times are good, and it's overall, it's just a really good experience. Unfortunately, you can still hear the sound skipping from the capture. Resident Evil 2. I don't think this game would have been pleasant at all using just the APU if it would have even started. So we're just testing the CPU on this with the RX 580. And with high settings, motion blur and screen effects off, as you can see, it ran extremely well. You do see a little bit of stutter, and it's noticeable even without relive running, but you tend to overlook that once you remember that you're actually running this on a dual core. Red Dead Redemption 2 was also tested using Vulkan with the RX 580 and performed just about how I expected. Settings were mostly medium with high details, no motion blur, and this was pretty much on par with the testing that I did on this game when I disabled cores on a Ryzen 2700. And I'll put links to the videos up at the top. The game may be very GPU intensive, but it definitely prefers more than two cores. I mean, as you add cores to it, the performance definitely goes up. And for shits and giggles, I want to compare stock versus overclock using Firestrike. And here you can see the settings for both. On the left we have stock settings and overclocked on the right. And here you can see the difference in the scores. I mean, we gained just over 500 points overall, and I thought that was pretty significant. And of course, no benchmark video is complete until you're on Cinebench R15, right? So here's the stock score. We got a 390 multi, 141 single core. When we overclocked to 4.1, the multi-core score went to 434 and single core to 165. And of course, at that point, I couldn't leave well enough alone, so I pushed the CPU to 4.2 gigahertz and I got a final score of 455. Although I did forget to run a single core score here, you get the idea. And just because, while the CPU was still at 4.2 and the RX 580 was installed, why not run Crisis? This is a high preset, but I'm certain that if you lowered some of the settings on here, you could easily play this with the APU. But let's be honest though, this chip is not a chip a gamer is going to buy. It's fun to test it out, but it's really not its intended purpose. The 3000G would be perfect in an HTPC build, or a home or work office PC, or a PC for your grandma. If you somehow got stuck with it and wanted a game, it can manage some and can be quite impressive sometimes too, but again, not the reason this chip exists. I think many times gamers happen to think all hardware is created for them, but this is a perfect example that there are other uses for PCs where this APU will do the job perfectly well. I know I had a lot of fun with it, and I wish I had more time with it, and I may just have to break down and buy my own one day. I would love to see how far I can push it without any fear of breaking it. So what do you guys think of the 3000G? Let me know below, and as always, I will see you on the next one.